Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Author's Eye with me, your host, Derek M. Cartwright. And tonight I have got three fabulous writers from the Hogsback Writers Group, and they are Karen Laycock, J.L. Connor, and Sally Amelia. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Great stuff. Right, so
Hello.
that's the introductions out the way. Tonight we want to crack on with probably the most controversial of subjects, particularly within writing and the creative arts. And that is AI and how AI is going to or is already impacting um, us as writers. So, just to keep it fairly generic, would anyone like to just highlight some of the things that at the moment AI is quite capable of either helping us with or actually doing for us? So maybe Karen, do you want to pick that one up?
Yeah, sure. So, generally, I'm kind of using it a lot in my personal and my work life. So, I work in technology, and I think there's the kind of AI that most people are using quite heavily at the moment in their personal lives is generative AI. So, that might be like Chat GPT, or you might see it as Gemini if you're a Google user, or Copilot if you're a Microsoft user. And that's usually where you have a little chat screen and you put in your question, and the more information you give it, the more high quality the answer is. But what that AI is doing is really mushing together lots of information that's available out there on the internet. So although it's written in a really nice fashion and it's made it seem as though you're talking to a really intelligent person, it's really just regurgitating stuff that's already out there. So it's not necessarily going to be anything original that you see. And it can also make stuff up a little bit. The next wave, which is what we're looking at in my company, but also just we'll start to see a lot more of, is called agentic AI. And that's where the AI is actually doing a job and doing a task. So it's not just regurgitating existing information, it can act independently. And if you give it an instruction, it will go off and do something. And that's very new still. And a lot of the experimentation that's happening with that is finding that although it can do that, it needs a lot of training, a lot of governance from human beings to make sure it's not falling over or doing something silly. But when that comes to into being, that will be AI that we could actually use to replace roles that maybe we might at the moment as writers be outsourcing to other people to do. And that might therefore help writers in some ways to progress their books and publish or edit or what have you. But that's still a kind of emerging technology at the moment.
Is it is it overly simplified to say that it can effectively currently do your editing, proofreading, illustrations, and even writing? I mean, there are products out there like is it Novel Craft and Raptor Write, which are still you're referencing generative AI. These are generative AI, where I think you go on, you start giving it a whole series of instructions, and you can give it an outline of a story outline, and it'll pseudo write's the other one that's it. That will actually it will then go off and you'll say, give me, I don't know, 1,500 words, give me a chapter, and it'll then actually write. But so that's what I mean when I say about writing.
Mhm.
It will actually fill in, take your
Yeah.
effectively your plan, your outline, and fill words in. Um, but yeah, I mean,
Yes.
come back to your other point though, is it creative? And certainly the ones that we're seeing at the moment aren't. But what you're highlighting is that the next generation you think will be more creative,
Yeah. Yeah, I think the next generation will be able to think more for itself and provide new information, whereas at the moment it looks creative, but really it's just stealing stuff from out there and putting it together in a new way, perhaps, but it's not necessarily being creative, and it's only as good as the person who trained it in the first place.
right? So, Sally, did you have anything to add on that? Because I know that you've had some exposure working with AI.
Can I know we've dashed straight into the subject of AI, but before we do that, can we get pretty excited about something? I mean, we have to get excited about the fact that I finished this weekend. I put the end. It's going to be uploaded and it's going live on Friday.
Yay,
Well,
well
I've sent
done.
it to
There's
my
a
Well
plug
proofreader,
we
who's
weren't
actually sent it
expecting.
back to me already.
done.
And
see
I
an
am so
opportunity, Sally.
excited because I hit my deadline. Book's out there. It's going to be in the Amazon Kindle Storytellers Award, which is great. It's only
Yeah.
7,000 to 1. Don't tell me the odds.
Okay.
And yep, it's just going to be amazing. So I'm just like lining up all of my advertising and promotions around that. So yes, Karen, if you're hearing a lot about my books at the moment, you're going to hear a lot more in the future.
Okay, well, thanks for the plug and everything else.
I know, but
Now,
this is exciting.
can we talk about AI now, please?
Oh, okay, AI, yeah. Okay, so the big turning point for me was about a year ago when I read an article in The Guardian. And the article was entitled, What Jobs Will AI Replace? And it was one of the Guardian writers who writes literary fiction. And she said she'd handed in her novel to her editor. 8 weeks later, she'd got a 3-page letter back from her editor, which highlighted 8 points which she should improve on her literary novel. She then went into Gemini AI Pro, which was at the time and still is one of the only platforms where you can upload up to 350,000 word document. She uploaded her novel into Gemini AI Pro and put in the prompt, acting as a development editor for literary fiction, please give me an edit of this novel. And 20 seconds later, not 8 weeks later, she got a response from Gemini AI, which went on to about 2 pages. And essentially, she said it was the same 8 points had been made by my proper editor. And from that, she declared that there are some stuff that AI can do, which is amazing. And once I saw that, I thought, okay, I'm going to go and have a look at this. So I have found Gemini AI is actually very good for providing a development edit of your entire novel. If you want it. And it can also do things like you can upload your entire novel and it will write your synopsis for you. It will write a cover letter for an agent. It will write your Facebook ads. It will write drafts of stuff. And if you don't like the first draft, you can get it to write it again. Or you can just download it. I mean, to get you from a blank piece of page to a synopsis, which is 75% of the way there, is just astonishing. If anyone who's sweated over a synopsis, Google AI, Gemini Pro is your friend. It does cost £19 a month, but the great thing is you only need to pay for 1 month and you can cancel it straight away. So I did actually run Heirs of Empire through it about 6 weeks ago, and it came up with the one thing it came up with, which I made it said that I know this is the 5th book in a series, it said to me, but some of your readers may have forgotten the intricate details of the previous 4 books. So you need to drip feed them a little bit more information. So I went back and I dripped fed just a half a sentence here, just 3 words there to say who these characters were and what these various things was, like Sasterona is a planet, not whatever else you might think it is. And I uploaded it again once I'd done all those edits, and it said, yeah, you're fine. That your world building's fine. It didn't come up with that same comment. It came up with some other things, but so I found that incredibly helpful. So that was quite
Sally,
good.
can I ask, does it have anything that says it's gonna so if you've uploaded your novel to Gemini, does that mean that other users of Gemini might have parts of your novel? If I sat down and said, write me a story about Sasterona and da da da, would Gemini spit back to me parts of your novel, or has it protected your rights in some way?
I protected our rights. It's sure that it doesn't hang on to my searches. It doesn't use my searches in feeding its algorithm, and everything that I did disappears within about 24 hours. So I'm fairly cool about that.
Good. That's good.
Can I just interrupt there and say, I think on the free versions, you don't have that protection. So I think you have to provide the instruction, and I think it's the paid versions that allow it. Certainly, I mean, I was going to talk about some of the legal issues, which we'll come back on to later on. But I've had uh, my my limited experience of working with this, having to play around and sort of see what it can and can't do, and whether it works for me or not. I mean, um, just I suppose for me it was an interesting thing. BookBub, the software, they did a survey back in May this year of 1,200 authors, and about the whole thing about would you use AI? Just a very simple thing: would you use AI? Now, 45% said that they are currently using it. And I mean, both we've already highlighted the marketing side of things, the writing, the editing, that side of it. So we've got 45% of authors already using it. But there's a 50% are an absolute hard no, not interested, not I will never use it kind of thing, with the rest being sort of, I suppose, ambivalent. So can I bring you in, Gillian, on that particular point? Because I know
Yeah,
you're somebody that sort of
a
hasn't
complete
really
novice
an
when it
awful
comes to
lot.
AI. No, and actually, um, I think it's education. I started off being quite anti-AI, and that's cheating, and I think that's a lot of people's views. Um, and I watched a really interesting webinar just to teach myself a bit more about it. I mean, all these people that say already, no, I would never use AI, probably find that they are, because if you put it through Grammarly, if you put your book through Pro Writing, that is AI. And it's used as a tool. And my views are if you're using AI, and I have now used Gemini Pro, which Sally recommended, as a tool, I think that's perfectly acceptable. If you're using it to write your book, then who's generated the book? Okay, you may have generated the ideas and the prompts, but who's actually written the book and how much help have you had? Now, you might sit easily with that and say, you know what, I'll get all the help I want. And if the finished product sounds good, I'm happy with that. Now, I didn't use AI to write my book because actually I just came to the AI table late, but I did use it for my cover letter because where I lack skills are the blurb, the salesy, the pitch. That's not me. And I really needed help with that. So I gave AI some prompts. It came back with something that was actually quite impressive. Too salesy, too, dare I say it, Americanized for my taste and my style of book. So I used that to then rewrite something that I was happy with. But some of the phrases I certainly liked and the words it gave me, I've adopted. So then I've rewritten that. So then now, is that completely my work now, or how much do I credit to AI? So I think if you use it very much as a tool, and I think people, it depends on your views, but if you use it as a tool, then I think it's perfectly acceptable. I'm submitting at the moment, so I'm querying, and lots of websites are saying, no, we don't want any AI generated work. Part of me thinks, well, how are you going to know? And I think the majority of people are going to use AI, even if it's just for polishing. But I watched a really interesting webinar again to teach myself about AI, and it was all about the prompts. And it sort of blew my mind really, and how much you feed it as to how much you're guiding this tool and not letting it do all the thought process for you. But you can even ask AI, what shall I ask you? What prompt shall I ask you for you to give me, this product, this answer? So it's mind blowing. I still think it's in its infancy, certainly from the average consumer's point of view. I'm sure on the technical side and the commercial world, it's progressing as probably Karen will know more than I will. But I think from my point of view, with sort of layman when it comes to AI, it's a very valuable tool, and I think it's useful if it's used in the right way. And for me, it's very much if it's a tool and it's not generating for you. And I think it's very much your conscience really, how much you can accept.
Yeah, I think it's interesting in the sense of obviously we are in the creative art, so we are ultimately responsible, I would have thought, for the words that we put down and everything else. But of course, writing books and telling stories takes so long that, and also particularly if you're involved in self-publishing, the cost associated. So again, Sally, we could talk about that a little bit around the amount. I mean, I have an editor, a development editor, and it costs me between £500 and £600 because she's relatively new to the role. So I'm getting it, I think, fairly cheap, I suppose, if that's the right. I was certainly seeing stories of people paying, 1,000 plus for
Oh yeah, I've paid
editorial
thousands for
services.
mine in the past. I have paid thousands. The first three books I had done by editors on Reedsy, and I've got the invoices for it
Yeah.
because my books are quite long as well. So I'm looking for a specialist editor who does science fiction, and then it's a long book. You end up paying thousands.
Yeah.
And
And of course, when you're only getting between £2 to £3 in royalties from Amazon and all the rest of it, that's an awful lot of books you've got to sell in order to get your money back. That's not even talking about making a profit. And that's
yeah,
without, if you have paid cover designs, etc., etc. So you can understand why there's a movement, or at least an appreciation of what AI can bring to the table when it comes to authorly services.
can I just say one thing about AI? AI really likes my writing. Every time I say, take a look at this,
Yeah, but that's
it
because you
always
told it
says
to
something
like your
nice about
writing.
it first. And then it says all the
Have
other
you
things
told it to
afterwards.
like your right? Have you given it the
Yeah,
prompt
yeah.
to like
Of
your
course
writing?
she has. Of course she has. She's got her own little 10 commandments there that she's put into Gemini. And the first one says, there is only one author. I have no other author higher than Sally. It's a view.
No, but I think what's quite nice, I don't use Gemini very often because actually I'm still happier with ChatGPT. I mean, ChatGPT, you can also get specialist AIs. And I've found one which is called the Creative Writing Editor. And it's been tailored, set up to do editing for creative writing. So I find that one particularly good. And what I'm hoping to do is I want to set up my own ChatGPT private AI,
Yeah.
which is I did actually get the instructions of ChatGPT on how to do this. Basically, it means you can set up your own, and this is free still. You can set up your own Gen AI, and you can teach it all about your science fiction world.
Yeah.
Then it becomes an expert on your world, and then you can gate it as well. And then you can just sit there in your little happy space and work on your novel together. There is nothing better than speaking to your ChatGPT editor at 3 o'clock in the morning and not feeling the least bit guilty about it.
Is this the problem though? So are editors going to lose their jobs? Are they going to be out of work because
Yep.
AI it may not be able to replace whole books, or it thinks it can, but the quality would be poor. And hopefully there'll still be a place for authors to have their originality and creativity. But when it comes to editing and proofreading and line edits, is that going to take the place of humans?
It
I think
already
the
is.
more bigger problem is that people who are paying £800 on Reedsy right this minute for editing, they don't know whether they're going to get a real person or an AI edit. That's going to be really hard for them to tell.
I
That's a
mean, it's
good point,
already
actually.
prevalent,
Yeah.
isn't it, in publishing in general? So even in traditional publishing, the top five, the big five, and everything else, they're already starting to use AI models themselves in order to, because they want to maximize profitability. So anything that comes along that allows them to make more money, they're going to adopt. And certainly that it's already happening. Can we move a little bit more now towards looking at some of the legal issues? I mean, it's interesting, Karen, from your point of view, when obviously you're somebody who's, as a company, are working actively within the AI world. How do you see, or how does your company sort of see the idea of copyright? Because at what point, so if to come back to the what Sally was saying in relation to, particularly on the writing side, if you're using Gemini, at what point does AI effectively own that?
Own what you've written. I mean, I won't talk in too much detail about what my company are doing because I don't speak on behalf of them. But I think in general with corporations, they are all in a race to get the best value out of AI because they just see that the prize is obviously to improve efficiency and but I think a lot of them have tried to make sure that the AI platform they're interacting with is completely hived off just for their company, so there's no chance of information leakage.
They ring fence it, don't they?
Exactly. So they have to ring fence it anyway. And actually, we're very proactively encouraged to use it, to find ways to use it in new ways because it's also about information sharing and knowledge sharing. And if you think about it, like previously, people were probably just Googling the same stuff that they're just getting it faster, right? So in the example of creating a cover letter that you were giving there, Janine, you probably just Googled a few templates to give you a starting point otherwise, right? And now it's just the generative AI is doing that a lot faster for you. So it's just kind of speeding up some of the jobs you might do already.
And I mean, I've been on courses, I've been on day courses as how to hook an agent and including this format of a letter. And, this has been a course with a lot of people there in a nice flashy hotel and God knows how much it's cost. And, this was not that long ago. Whereas now, literally you can just go on AI and within seconds, you've got several templates that you could use.
But I think it's just ownership of the content, isn't it? Because if it's taking that content from a well-known training company and they've created that content, then really they should be being rewarded for that, shouldn't they? So
I think it's in a way there's a responsibility from the corporations, isn't it, to actually manage and utilize this in a proper way, and that sort of leads me on to the ongoing court case that there is going on in the US at the moment, because some companies have been guilty of scraping data to feed effectively their own AI models. And certainly that's caused some concern. I certainly have had my books have been scraped by Meta, and yes, I will mention their name, and I don't care. They can come and sue me if they want because it's true. So they, in order to, and there's thousands. What they did was they went to a pirated website. So my book had been pirated, and they paid effectively the pirate website to get all of the books, thousands of books off it. So there's a bit of it's a scandal, and it's an ongoing thing. What they're going to end up doing about it, because it's too late. It's already gone. They've already got the information, and the AI models have already learned from it. So they're not going to unlearn. That's never going to happen. Okay, well, I just want a final point, which is really more about we write because we want to write. We want to tell our stories, etc., etc. End of the day, there's also the other side of that, and that's the people who read it. Do readers care, do we think? And before you give your answer, just want to give a small example. There's a story that came out, I think it was the New York Times just last week. So there's a guy, I think he's 32, something like that. He's a multimillionaire. He produced 1,500 books in less than 2 years. These are everything is AI. He generates the covers AI, the content is AI. Admittedly, this is non-fiction books. And so he just pushed them all out onto Amazon. It's all sold through Amazon. And he's made between 2 and 3 million is the estimate in that time because of these books. Now, at the end of the day, we all can sit here and say, oh, AI currently is producing low quality books, can't tell a full story and all the rest of it. But if he's making that kind of money, then do readers actually care? What is it that a reader wants to see? Maybe.
Yeah, I think the one you're talking about, though, he was doing low content books. He was doing the colouring books, wasn't he? Under diaries and things like that.
He was doing a lot of medium content, which is the self-help kind of books, as well as colouring books. Yeah.
And then there's another I mean, at the moment, the Amazon's got a throttle on this, and that you can only publish 3 books a day.
Yeah.
But we've already seeing, I think there's one company where I was at the self-publishing show at South Bank, and they were saying there was these romance sort of novels, and they generated 120 in well, as many days as you need if you're doing 3 a day. Literally, they've done 3 a day for however many, and they're all
Really? A
identical.
lot.
Yeah, and they're literally done, and they're all identical. They all had similar covers, so they're all very much a muchness. So it was all Mills and Boons on steroids, but
I think it comes down to quality.
yeah.
That's what it's going to come down to. And at the moment, AI has not got the quality to produce a decent book, but that will change. And as far as I know, there's no law or any regulation that has to state on the book whether it's completely AI generated or not. I hope that does become a law or a regulation so that the readers can make a choice, because otherwise, as the quality increases of AI, how are readers going to know whether this is created by a human being or created by a machine?
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
But will
that's a
they care
bombshell.
is the question, though, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
I think what they'll care about is originality, right? I think, people will want original content, and generative AI is not original. It might mush things together in a slightly new way. And maybe it just forces all of us to up our game in terms of originality rather than just kind of doing another version of what somebody else has done. We've all got to put our best foot forward when it comes to creating original content that people want to read.
Yeah,
But
I think
that, if it's mashing different things together, then could that be deemed as original?
Mm.
Well, there you go. Well, and that's a bombshell. We're going to have to end it there, I'm afraid. We're about to run
Okay.
out of time.
We're going to do goodbye from me. We're going to try and get this right
Well, hang on a
tonight.
minute. I haven't said the goodbyes yet. Will you wait, woman? Come on.
She's waiting
Okay,
for
now.
dinner.
And,
Dinner's on the
Karen,
table.
And with
we got
that,
2 new members tonight, so we're going to try and get this right. Okay, so Mark's going to say
anyway, Sally's
goodbye from me.
desperate to go, so we're going to end it there. Say thank you very much, everybody, and I'm going to say good night. Would anyone else like to say good night?
Good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good night from me. Thank you, everyone.
Cool. Well, you can stay on because I'm just going to pause, but we've only got another